let's talk about the more fun topic, I think, which is the pinball machines. Uh, I'll spare everybody watching my frustration that you no longer have the dartboards. But so long story short, you have put in 6 pinball machines.
Correct.
And you have an agreement with the gentleman. But I'll let you tell the story that you have this, this space and what's happening with the space. What's it doing for beer sales? What's it doing for revenue? Walk me through the whole thing.
All right. So Steven he runs, and let me plug him, Playwright Incorporated. He's based out of Healdsburg, California. He is a hobbyist. He loves building and repairing and bringing vintage arcade pinball machines back to life, and he wants them used. So I actually don't rent the pinball machines from him. We have a 50-50 split. He wants them played. So when I first started with the company, my boss told me, my general manager, as long as I'm not knocking holes out of the wall, I can do whatever I want with the tap room. It's my playground. And so I completely reoriented our seating and literally created a games corner, which is 6 pinball machines, a shuffleboard table, and reorganizing the room. It actually increased my seating capacity. But Steven has actually put us on the map. I had no idea the pinball culture was as big as it was. Same with the cornhole. Like, I didn't realize people are consider themselves athletes when it comes to these hobbies, in my opinion. But once we reorganized and had all 6 of the machines set up, he helped us with our social media, put us on an app called, I believe it's called the Pinball Nap. And in that first week, we had 2 parties. I think one was a group of 4. The next, a couple days later, was a group of 6. And they were there purely for pinball. However, they were like, oh, it also happens to be at a brewery, so we are going to buy beer. And the caveat of that too is I've had folks come in saying, I'm not going to have a beer. I want my kids to play pinball, but they're having such a good time. Actually, you know what? I will have a pint. So it's actually, it's worked in our favor. It really did not take that much real estate. It's a little noisy, but people have learned to accept it. One of our regulars, who's a member of a local chamber of commerce, he's got the top score on every machine. He is like an avid pinball wizard. But it's definitely been, I mean, honestly, it's 100% profit. It's justified buying equipment for the tap room. Upcoming purchases that I want to do for events like our comedy night. But every time they're here every 3.5, maybe 4 weeks tops, where we do a split. It just gives me a budget to justify wanting to make upgrades to the tap room.
Sure, and it's free money, right? You don't have to maintain them. You don't have to do anything. You just have found this gentleman that has, these classic arcade machines that's willing to pay you, in this case, 50%. But you've basically, for no effort, you're now generating new regular business, selling a couple of pints that you otherwise wouldn't sell. Plus, you're making passive income from some pinball machines to the tune of a few $100 a month. Yeah.
Correct. And again, Steven's very passionate. We have a foosball table, a pro foosball table, by the way. And twice now, one of the little players have broken their legs off, and I just sent him a little snapshot via text, and he's like, I'll be there this weekend. I'll repair it. And then he gives me a little bit of, not negative criticism, but he's like, if you adjust the lights this way, again, the guy's very passionate, but overall, like I said, it's 100% profit for us. I mean, the last 2 splits that we've done have actually been the equivalent of a full day's sales on a mid-level busy day. So it's really worked out very well for us.
Great.
And it's also brought us a lot lot of folks who would not have come here otherwise unless they had known that pinball, shuffleboard.
And I think more importantly, in this unique case, is you're now on that. I think it's called Pin Mapper.
That's it.
You should look that up. But yeah, so now you have all these tens of thousands of people that are now aware of your business. That if you cycle in some dope pinball machine like Bride of Pinbot comes in, and all of a sudden all the Bride of Pinbot fans are showing up, and you didn't even have to do anything. You didn't have to lift a finger. That's really great.
Right. And it's not even in the floor space that it's occupying isn't even what I would consider to be optimal seating either. So if anything, it's taking advantage of the space we have.
Yeah, that was kind of a dead corner before, for sure. For sure.
Other than the traditional darts, which you and I both agree that
it's a sore subject. It's a sore subject. We're gonna skip over that. But yeah, so you mentioned comedy night. I know you're very excited about that, and that the pinball is helping you pay for the infrastructure to do that. But you recently did a comedy night, and it was a roaring success. I don't want to steal any of your thunder, so just tell me, kind of in brief. There's a local comic who runs shows in town, and then take it away.
Yeah. So fall of last year, I come to work. There's a business card behind the bar, which I get left with pretty often. But being a huge fan of stand-up comedy, this particular card said Bay Area stand-up comics, and I went, "Wow, could I actually do this?" I'm a passionate believer that I will try anything once, and after a little bit of a back and forth, I got a hold of Guile Mosier, who eventually we made it happen. So June 3rd, just a couple of weeks ago, we pulled off a full stand-up comedy show in the tap room. And he runs a local Bay Area comedy group. So there's a local restaurant that he does like a more family-friendly kind of comedy on Sundays. But then once a month, we've got like a vintage theater he does an uncensored night at. And so June 3rd was the show. June 2nd, he had his big show it's called the Empress downtown. And he plugged us and just said, "Hey guys, if you had a good time tonight, this same lineup is going to be at this brewery like 3.5 miles away." And I think within like 45 minutes, we went from like 35 tickets to like nearly 70. And people still kept walking through the doors wanting to buy tickets, just knowing that we were going to have a comedy show. And so we had to like triple our seating capacity. But overall, absolute success for us. We did do a 2-drink minimum, which nobody had an issue with. There were 2 brackets of tickets. There was like a $20 GA. There was a $30 VIP. I really wanted to promote the event and kind of go all out. So I decided that for the VIP tickets, I would include a branded pint glass with a drink ticket that went towards their 2-drink minimum. And the overall cost, I think we maybe sold like 12 of those VIP tickets. So in all honesty, based on what we got, it wasn't a loss to us.
Sure.
It's like, cool. Here's a pint glass.
Probably what, a couple of bucks, and the beer, costs you whatever, 50 cents.
Exactly. But yeah, it turned into an absolute success. We have another one coming up, confirmed and locked in for the first Saturday of August, which I believe is August 5th. And based on that success, I've been given a budget to invest in our own PA system and maybe like a portable stage setup. So it had nothing but positive feedback.
Sure. And I think more importantly is you've had some people actually come back since then because they were fans of the comedy show that, otherwise maybe wouldn't have come in for a pint or wouldn't have thought about you. So it is also
absolutely.
Business for you.
Yeah. I want to say actually our first guest that came in, who had bought tickets for that, were like, "I don't drink beer. I had no idea that you were here. But we are here." And, took them, give them a bunch of samples, whatnot. And they found something that they liked eventually. But if it wasn't for that comedy show and with Visit Vallejo, actually putting us on their webpage for upcoming events. They would not have come in here otherwise. So, like I said, I want to say a good 70% of the guests that night for the comedy show, it was their first time in our tap room.
Great.
Yeah.
And they're presumably excited about the next one and have come back in. And so that's really what we're talking about, is how are the real story that we're trying to tell here is how are these activations helping business on the off days, right? Are the cornhole players coming in on not Monday and Thursday? Are the comedy show people coming back? Are people leaving with 4-packs? Are you seeing a general uptake in your tap room sales just by having all of these things happening in your little destination? It's actually not little at all.
A really quick way to sum that up is yes. We are maybe an exit and a quarter mile off of two major freeways that people commute on a regular basis and would not have realized that we were so easily accessible. And I will say that it's actually generated an increase in our to-go beer sales for sure. Because people come in, they're like, I'm on my way home, I want to buy a 4-pack, and then they continue the commute. Or they'll come in, have a pint, wait for like the commute traffic to break. But just these events specifically have put us on the map for a lot of people that would not assume that there was a brewery so conveniently close off the freeway. So yes, it's genuinely helped.
Right. So you've built this, you're building this community, you're building these relationships with these other vendors in the form of the pinball guy and the comic who runs the shows and the folks who run the cornhole league and that community. So you're building this environment around the brewery, you're getting all these new people, and really all you've had to do is just kind of be amiable and say yes to people and apply some rules and make it work for your business. And you've been generally winning because of that.
Yeah, I mean, my logic is at some point, and actually this might go into a good subject, is the relationship I have with the local Chamber of Commerce's. Like, for example, this Friday, there's a public park around the corner. They're doing a big music festival. It's called, let me look at the front here. Yeah. It's called the Bands and Brews, and we are the official sponsor for it. And that's directly working with GBRD, which is Greater Vallejo Regional District. Julie, who I work with, coordinates that department, but we are the only beer supplier who has said yes. So it's a matter of say yes as much as you can, but then there are going to be situations where you are going to be forced to say no. But working with the community has actually dramatically increased our attention to the general public. But yeah, working with the local Chamber of Commerce's has actually been, I mean, honestly, probably one of the biggest pushes for us getting attention.
Interesting. Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for swinging in to the virtual cabin here and doing this.
Right.
Yeah, no, really appreciate it. It's really wonderful when we hear, these kind of, I guess, lesser known. You guys aren't a small brewery. It's hard to think of you guys as a small brewery. That place is so gigantic.
Can't wait to get bigger.
But no, I mean, the point being, like, is it's great to hear, like, you put in this minimal amount of effort and built these great relationships, and it's driving your sales and making you busier. You're hiring people, you're opening on days when you were dark, you're expanding your hours, and you really haven't had to put a ton of effort into it. There's obviously some sweat equity, but as far as like monetary investment, you really haven't spent all that much, right?
No. And actually, just two little talking about that, like where getting our name out there and actually not having to invest anything. Two funny, quick, I know I can go on spiels, but so with the GVRD, with their Bands and Brews, which is going to be I believe it's the last Friday of each month for the next 4 months. I was actually on vacation about 2 weeks ago on a camping trip, and the head of the department was like, hey, we made these new sweaters and we wanted to put your logo across the back. but I didn't get your permission, but I pulled the trigger, but I went ahead and did it. I hope that's okay. And I was like, thank you. Like I never had to, I didn't have to buy the sweaters. I didn't have to invest in it. They just went ahead and put Napa Smith across the back of the sweater. And then same thing with the Cornhole League. They love the indoor space so much that they're putting our logo and branding on their new jerseys for their league. And it's just a matter of just saying, okay, like I don't have to cut them a check or anything. It's been, it's almost like it's free advertising. And it's been really cool, actually. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, there you have it. Easy activations that can bring in money for very little effort. Driving sales, driving taproom sales, and to-go sales, and building community, which is really what we're here to talk about. It's building community, creating things, creating a reason for people to show up. You know, sometimes in a market that is flooded with things to do. So, Louren, thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you around the bend.